People in Japan and other countries were shocked when they heard how the crew of one fishing boat became sick after being exposed to radiation. One of them died 6 months later. But many other fishermen were also affected. They're suing the Japanese government for compensation after it long ignored them.
Volunteers are now collecting their stories and sharing them with people all over the world. NHK World's Yoshiko Nakata has more.
Former high school teacher Masatoshi Yamashita is visiting fishermen in their homes in a small town in western Japan. Toshikazu Taniwaki was working on a tuna boat in the Pacific in 1954 when the US tested a hydrogen bomb in the area.
When did you get liver cancer?
Taniwaki is now 84. Over the years, he has suffered anemia, hepatitis C, and liver and stomach cancer.
I wasn't quite aware of the seriousness of what I experienced at Bikini. I later found out what happened to the people in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I suffered symptoms similar to theirs for many years.
The US carried out 6 hydrogen bomb tests over the course of 2.5 months at Bikini Atoll in the Pacific Ocean. One was 1,000 times as powerful as the bomb that destroyed Hiroshima. The tests produced huge amounts of radioactive fallout. A total of 1,000 Japanese fishing boats worked in the area during the tests. Government officials tested the vessels, the fish, and some of the crew members for radiation, but none of the fishermen were recognized as victims, except the crew of one boat. The former fishermen say they were given inadequate warning of the tests or none at all. Yamashita has been researching the impact of nuclear testing for more than 3 decades. He wants the government to officially recognize the fishermen as victims of radiation contamination and provide them with compensation. Yamashita is collecting fishermen's teeth after learning that traces of radiation poisoning can be found in them. Taniwaki gives him a couple his dentist recently pulled.
We might be able to trace the radiation with this. It's in there. This could be clear evidence. We have no time to waste to get things right. Survivors are getting old. It's a race against time.
Back in the 1980s, Yamashita and his students started to look into the impact of the nuclear tests. They found an abandoned fishing boat. Local fishermen told them it had sailed near Bikini Atoll. Yamashita and his students checked the boat for radioactivity. Even though 30 years had passed since the H-bomb tests, they found a radiation level of 1.5 microsieverts. That's 37 times the natural level. Yamashita and his students found that nearly a third of the vessels that operated near Bikini Atoll came from communities in Kochi Prefecture in western Japan. They interviewed fishermen who worked on the boats during the tests. Yamashita asked the government to release data about the fishermen's radiation levels, but officials claimed it didn't exist.
I am very angry that innocent, hard-working people have been suffering, and nothing has been done to help them. For more than 60 years, they couldn't do anything unless they could prove that they were exposed to radiation. This incident has been covered up until now, but it's not over yet.
The government finally disclosed the data in 2014. It showed the fishermen who worked near Bikini were exposed to high levels of radiation. In 2016, Yamashita and a group of former fishermen sued the government for compensation. In July 2018, the Kochi District Court ruled the crew members had been exposed to radiation, but it rejected their demands for compensation.
I think it's the government's responsibility to follow up on the fishermen's health problems. That's the most important thing. The government should think about how to support these victims.
Yamashita and his former students are making an educational video. It comprises testimonies from the fishermen and family members of those who have died.
がんで死んだがよ。2人は死んだんで、緑の船で。で、船員も1人し、2人し、兄貴が皮膚がんで。脳腫瘍。脳腫瘍ね。なんでこんな病気にならなきゃのかないと僕に言ったけどね。
Local high school students are taking part in the project.
こういう事件を忘れたりとか
If our history books overlook or downplay incidents like this, similar mistakes will be repeated in the future. We, the younger generation, must pass this lesson on to future generations so that it isn't forgotten.
We aren't professional peace activists, but we were teachers, so we thought we could tell this history. I believe we have to tell people about the huge impact of nuclear testing. This is a global issue, and we need to seize the moment.
It's been 64 years since the H-bomb tests. The survivors are getting older as they wait for justice to be done. Yoshiko Nakata, NHK World.